A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I am Mike Argoni, and joining me, as always, the Wolf Yularen to my Grand Moff Tarkin, it's John Campbell.
Man, you have the most fun coming up with those, don't you?
I 100% do.
I do. I can see it. There's a delight. I think the watchers, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see he's got a gleeful little, he's going to do a thing. Oh, here we go, Gargani. We're still in 1997, which really, I was already a Star Wars fan by this point, but I think we both talked about 97 was where it's like Star Wars mania hit a real height for our generation, I think.
Well, because we started to anticipate that there was maybe more bigger Star Wars just around the corner. The rumblings were beginning about prequels being made and pre-production had already begun.
Yeah.
We started to like really sink into the idea that like, wait, Star Wars isn't just the thing that Dark Horse does or the books that get published.
And with this, the re-release of the movie started this whole media merchandising tie-in stuff. They reissued so many. I bought the majority of my Star Wars figures during this time because there were new cool Star Wars figures and this amazing comic book, which I say with no sarcasm.
This horrific cash grab of a comic book.
Oh, boy. You talk about... this is... When you talk about a tie-in comic book, this is what it is, where it's like, this, as we've talked so many times, is purely about tying into a thing, because it really has nothing to do on its own.
Right. And it is... I used the word last time, and I'm going to use it again this time, and that is perfunctory. It is...
Yep.
Every piece here adds up to a Star Wars comic book adaptation of A New Hope. Just don't look too hard at where the pieces are coming from. Just look at it from a distance, specifically this 4-part cover that must be collected with the other 3 parts.
Hey, this 4-part cover we got to talk about again. We got...
Let's leap into this cover right away then.
Gargoni, I got another question for you. I don't remember an older Caesar Romero being in Star Wars.
John, I said the name Wolf Yularen. Were you not paying attention?
I did hear it. But I'm saying, where is this guy? This guy gets a cover appearance?
He's in the boardroom sequence, and that's it. And for some reason, he gets a cover appearance.
I do like, they're almost just like, we need another bad guy on here.
And they couldn't have just added, I don't know, another stormtrooper or something?
Anybody. I just love, it is one of those things where it's like, I know this guy is actually in the movie, unlike last week's robot fiasco, but this guy, but it is one of those things where I went, wait, what? Oh, yeah, is more what I have.
Whereas
with this one.
I'm doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, pointing at the screen going, I know that guy.
He really does look like older Caesar Romero.
But yes, we are on issue number 3. You can see the cover now if you're with us on YouTube. But we're on issue number 3 of the 1977 or 1997. I keep getting those mixed up. Star Wars: A New Hope hyphen special edition number 3, originally released March 5th, 1997. We've got Bruce Jones as the writer again, mostly the same creative team. Eduardo Barreto on pencils, Al Williamson on inks, Carlos Garzon on also inks, and Steve Dutro on letters.
And this is a Dave Dorman cover, as they all have been.
Yes, and of course this is part 3 of the 4-part cover. You're meant to collect them all, and they could be fit together to make a bigger mural with the Death Star as the central node of that mural. And you can see the, let's call it the ass of the Death Star here in the upper right corner of the
And hey man,
cover
the Death Star's got some junk in its trunk, if you know what I mean.
I like big battle stations, and I cannot lie.
This is why you love Force Awakens most of all, because that is the biggest battle station.
Now, John, there's a keen distinction between a battle station and a planet which has been terraformed to become a weaponized machine of death. And Starkiller Base is the latter of those two things. I like a completely artificial facade. That's all I'm saying.
I gotta say, and I think Rise of Skywalker, and I know I'm breaking this for just a second because we're not allowed to talk. We shouldn't talk about those movies, but
don't do it, John.
But I'll just say, like, I think because that like snapped me into it. Dude, Force Awakens is not that good, man. And I'm realizing like there are things in it like that where I'm going, that's insane.
My sister recently started rewatching the Star Wars films, and she asked me like, "Okay, so when should I watch the? I got the prequels, I got the sequels. When should I watch the other movies like Solo and Rogue One?" Mm-hmm. I let her know where they slot into the timeline.
Yeah.
And then I just followed that up by saying, and don't watch the sequels. And because she's my sister and she loves me, she says, "Oh, that was never part of the plan."
Oh, very good. Yeah, I love Last Jedi as an individual film, but it's sandwiched by two not great movies. And I think now I have enough removal from it where I'm like, oh my God, Star Wars is back. That I can go like, hey, it's not the mess that Rise of Skywalker is, but that's not great.
Moving on.
All right.
I'm not going to relitigate the sequels here yet again.
Someday
we will get to some sequel era comics. I assure you we will.
Yes.
Because there are some things to talk about the Knights of Ren that we will get into.
Oh, I read that. I read the fucking Kylo Ren book.
But that is not today. Today we are going to get back into this Star Wars A New Hope Special Edition.
Skip past because it's the same creator.
We get the timeline. We get the creators. Love that timeline. Still looking at it going, yes, my Star Wars. There we go. But moving on. We're back to Mike Mignola back again for a guest page.
Holy shit, exactly. What is with this inking? Where is that? What sun have they passed that's causing this?
Where are all those planets coming from?
Yo, I didn't remember the Death Star being surrounded by a whole massive solar system of planets that are all real close to each other.
Shouldn't they still be in the like debris pile that is Alderaan at this point?
I guess Alderaan had a bunch of neighboring planets.
Or when they blew it up, it just gave birth to a bunch of baby planets.
Yeah, that's what this is. All the pieces of Alderaan have created these new planets.
Oh, congratulations, Alderaan. You're a parent.
So we go to the next page here. Super bummed Luke Skywalker.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen Star Wars and you're listening to this show, we've just escaped from the Death Star. That's where we're at.
Yeah. I love the idea of number one, you haven't seen Star Wars, so you're watching this show, and two, that you would start on this episode. So yeah, Leia's putting a blanket over super bummed Luke. The problem is we've been saying in the previous issues, everybody looks bummed all the time in this book, so it's hard to really read this as like.
I mean, you talk about like grim-faced Han Solo, which we've had this entire time. The bottom right-hand panel here of when he's strapping into the gunner's position, and he just looks like he's about to storm the beaches of Normandy.
I know. Once again, it's really playing into like, these are soldiers in a war. None of the fun space adventure of Star Wars is present. All it's like, this is Han going, I'm about to take lives.
Yeah. So we've got sentry ships incoming. We've got to hold them off. Come on, buddy. We're not out of this yet. As he like says, Luke, shake it off. I don't care if you like that old man. We got to go kill some people.
And once again, if you don't know the layout of the Falcon from having seen the movies, what is happening right now? Because he walks somewhere, cut to him on a ladder, cut to Luke already in the gunner's seat. Wow. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah. Also, I like that Han's gloves go from fingerless in the like middle left panel to the fingered driver's gloves that are normally his wont in the bottom two panels.
Correct. Yeah. What the hell? Once again, I know what those are. I had the action figure of Han in the turret seat. I know what those gloves look like. All right, so we go to concerned Leia. Although, what's going on with her lips? Oh,
she's just gasping lightly at the majesty of space, and then trying not to breathe through her nose because she's sitting next to Chewbacca. Chewbacca was in a garbage pit and hasn't had a chance to shower yet.
Oh, God. Number one, wet Wookiee to begin with, and then wet with garbage water.
Yeah, at least Han and Luke got to change their clothes after they got out of the
He's not happy about it, because look at how fucking pissed Chewie is.
Well, with his classic angry noise, rock.
A rock! I want a rock!
See, I heard it as rock.
Oh, see, I heard it as this is Chewie's sick metal band.
I know. That's fair. Chewie and the Chewettes did have a long stint in the late 80s.
They were early metal hits. So, all right, we've got a bunch of TIE fighters flying by the Falcon.
Weirdly restrained page on this issue. We've noted before how this book feels like it is really abridging the entirety of Star Wars, the first movie, and it is trying to just like take a hacking cleaver to scenes to try to remove bits from this book to try to get it down to 24 pages.
Oh, God,
and that is kind of not the case in these back two issues, because as we stated at the end of last episode, we have 2 issues left in a 4-issue series, but only like 30 minutes of movie left.
I was gonna say, yeah, was my guess, about a half hour, yeah.
So we're gonna start stretching this like taffy.
Because we've talked about this dogfight is basically a kind of it's a cool moment, but it's a smaller action beat to get us to the big action beat of this is your end of Act 2 action beat before the major climactic battle. But it almost feels like, and I don't know, this is, if he did this, then this is a stupid way to do this. It's almost like he just started adapting and didn't think about, I'm going to place this here, here, and here. And then went, I've gone through too much too fast on the first 2 pages. I better slow down on the first 2 issues. I better slow down.
Mm-hmm.
He did too good a job of abridging initially.
Considering we spend the next 2 pages in this dogfight, and again, the real estate on this book is we gotta start, like, if we're gonna be, all we've really got left is get to Yavin 4 and then do the trench run. Like, we gotta spend some time shooting these TIE fighters.
Well, they do. We get a look inside on the next page here. We get a look at a TIE fighter pilot.
Why couldn't that have been the extra bad guy on the front cover?
Yeah, actually, the TIE fighter pilot, because that's iconic.
Yeah. Nope, gotta go with Wolf Yularen.
Yeah, I did not have his action figure. Did have a TIE fighter pilot figure, though.
What, ISB Admiral Wolf Yularen? You didn't have his action figure?
I had the Tarkin. I didn't have the Wolf Yularen. No, believe it or not. So Han and Luke are pew-pewing all over the place. Although it's interesting, it's a phew.
Is it a few or is it a few? I don't know.
Or is it a pew?
Pew.
And you do pronounce the pew.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pew.
Whereas in the movie, it's more of like a. It's like ratcheting guns.
Make it's like an anti-aircraft gun from over.
Yeah, it's got like more of a staccato sound to it. It's less of a phew.
Yeah, because
whatever.
3PO's
where the
hell is 3PO?
I don't know. Well, he's in a closet in that like top right panel there. I don't know where he is.
But here it looks like he's in like a sandstorm.
Yeah. Do you remember all the bits of the Millennium Falcon exploding during this scene? Because I don't.
I don't either. They really... Well, once again, it's not only do we have to stretch this out, but apparently this guy felt the need to ratchet up the action here, too.
Unfortunately, there's clearly a dire sparrow in that panel with 3PO. Due to...
Sparrow!
For some reason, one of the sound effects is Sparrow.
I have no idea what that is. Got to be one of the most baffling sound effects I've ever seen in a comic book.
That is the shriek of a dire space entity.
Sparrow! We cut into... See, now all of a sudden we're doing what they haven't been doing. Lots of close-ups with one word bubble.
Mm-hmm. And again... that would be great if they were actually capturing the mannerisms of the actors involved, because Han Solo here being like, "You hear me, baby? Hold it together," is like this like worried moment of, please, this ship that I've poured my soul into, don't betray me. And in this page, it's like, "You hear me, baby? Hold it together."
Yeah, he's saying the gritted teeth, hold it together. Ah! Also, don't worry, she'll hold together. Not based on what I'm seeing here, man. The Falcon's already mostly blown apart at this point.
R2's got to use some fire extinguishers. We get
He's spraying all
swooping
over.
ships. We get Luke trying to do some more foos.
Boo! 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 That's the sound from Pong, by the way, I'm realizing now.
More TIE fighters swooping. Han takes one out. Luke takes one out. Han gives him the "don't get cocky."
Hey, a rare moment, though, where he actually split a line into 2 word bubbles and did it, like, in a cut, which is...
No. Now, like I said, now it's starting to feel like they have the pacing to actually give us the beats of the dialogue in the
Right.
proper rendition, because we need to stretch this out a little bit.
Because that is delivered in a great kid, and then he almost says the "don't get cocky" almost to himself, right? Like it's a turn sort of thing. But yeah, we are all of a sudden, every other truncated action beat, this is just nonstop pew pew. Although now we get a shum.
I do like a good shum, especially as the last 2 explosions go to a kerwham and a whoom on the next page.
I do love a whooming explosion. Love them. Or is it more of a whom, as in whom has done this?
Well, then it would have been a whoomst, John.
Oh, whomst has committed such crimes against the Empire. That's it. We did it. And I know they hug in the movie, but it's very tender here, this Chewbacca.
Oh, Chewbacca's not even really like getting his arms around her all that much.
But once again, he reeks.
Yeah, it's a garbage Wookiee that you're living in that cockpit with right now. And no one likes the smell, especially Chewbacca.
I love the term garbage Wookiee. We need, if we ever make shirts from this, I want just like I just want art of a fully drenched Chewbacca with like some pieces of trash hanging off of him, and he's standing there like, and it says garbage Wookiee.
He's got a banana peel on his head, and he's just sad.
Garbage Wookiee.
We're all garbage Wookiees on the inside.
And so yeah, so
we get our cutaway to
Star.
Tarkin, yeah.
And of course the thing about like we've let them go so we can follow them to the rebel base.
Right. This is maybe the best looking Peter Cushing we've gotten so far.
Agreed. It is much closer to like the bone structure of his face actually.
And then immediately follow it up by he looks like one of the grumpy old men in the next panel.
He's about to stick a fish in Jack Lemmon's car. Yeah. Well, also just comic books don't do this kind of thing where it's Luke and Han in the gunner seat, then if still in the Falcon, then to Tarkin and Vader for 2 panels, then back to the Falcon on 1 page. That's a lot of jumping around for a comic book page.
And again, we've said this in every episode of covering this special so far. It really is relying on the fact that you've seen this movie, you know the events that should be happening, so your mind is just sort of filling in. Be honest with me, John. When you were reading this issue, or any of these issues really,
Right.
how long are you actually lingering on the dialogue, or are you just skimming it?
It's skimming. I'm basically, because I'm so familiar with the movie, I'm skimming for anything that seems out of place or different or missing or something. So it's more, but it is more, I'm almost going like, ooh, what's this?
I found myself doing that when reading this issue, and I had to stop after I had like blazed through like 6 or 7 pages being like, I don't think I actually read any of the words that are on those pages, other than like a perfunctory, like, I know what this dialogue looks like, I look for the key verb or adjective that's in it, and then I move on. And I backed up and I forced myself to read this.
I was focused more on the, like I said, I was more, and what I've been harping on is I'm more on like the facial expressions of what, okay, I know this is what they're saying, and this is a perfect example of this, not a bad bit of rescuing, huh? You know, sometimes I amaze even myself with the dourest look on his face.
Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be like a cocky Han Solo moment, right?
But it says, sometimes I amaze even myself.
Easy? You call that easy?
Yeah. He's walking around like Don Draper in this thing.
Because, yeah, Tarkin says, I'm taking an awful risk. They're letting him go. Han's like, not this ship, sister. And we get this whole, Han just looks so dour in all of this.
It also does not look at all like Harrison Ford.
Well, and we'll get to the final image of Han on this page here, because we have this exchange between Leia and Han about like, well, at least we've got R2, we've got to get to the Rebel base. Han's only in it for the money. Oh, you'll get your money. Your friend's a mercenary. I wonder if he really cares about anything or anybody. Luke getting the... I kind of do miss the 1970s version where he goes, I care, with this look of like indignant rage on his face. And this one's very...
I miss irrational, out of control Luke. But look at this. Look at Han. Look at the thing where it's over Han's shoulder looking back at them. Look at how sad he is. Oh, that really
wistful.
Stung.
Yeah.
That really stung, princess. That's a pretty mean thing for you to say to me. Jeez. And then we get this, and I will say it's the facial expressions, because he's capturing actually some of the physicality of Harrison Ford. He's got the classic Harrison Ford point, because you can go on YouTube and find all the videos of Harrison Ford pointing. It is a lot of his acting, is him pointing at people. And then they've even got him doing the like relaxed arm on the Falcon chair, but his face, look at, he's doing that. So what'd you think of her, Han? And his head is down going like, I'm trying not to, kid. That's not right.
Yeah, or like the wistful over the shoulder. Do you think a princess and a guy like me? And Luke going in with the no. And then he suddenly turns into Alan Alda as he grins at Luke.
That's right, son.
The face here is just such a wild departure from the basic trace of Harrison Ford we've seen.
You think a princess like her and a guy like me could get together? Maybe get together in a MASH tent? But it's still played as like, yeah, but I know it's true.
Like, yeah, I don't know. This whole beat, again, they give us the beat here, which I appreciate, but it's just weird tweaks to it that are odd.
Absolutely, it's so weird. All right. So let's go to the fourth moon of Yavin.
The jungle moon? The green-covered jungle moon of Yavin? Why aren't there paragraphs of dialogue telling me how much of this is a jungle?
I have no idea what the landscape of this planet is like, what color it is, how many trees are there. But we do get the guy with the radar gun.
I do like the radar gun guy. Didn't they enhance that in the special edition a little bit?
They sure
with
did.
the approach of the Falcon in the scene?
I think that's why they make a point of putting that in here. And so once again, here we go. You're safe. Alderaan, everybody is...
we have no time for sorrows, Commander. We have information in this R2 unit that can help us plan our attack.
No time for sorrows, but everybody's looking so sorrowful.
Well, they are all about to die because the Death Star is coming, so...
They don't know that just yet, though. Now they do, though, because we're going to cut to, once again, so weird to just the last panel is a cut to another location. As somebody who writes comics, this pisses me off. As somebody who sits there really thinking about, like, where to transition from stuff to stuff, and...
Pacing in comics is... really about where you're directing the reader's eye line, right? And the one thing you can really, really control as a creator of a comic book is where the page break or page turn is. Because otherwise, a person's eye can drift all over the page, and you can't really control what images they see, except when it comes to turning a page.
And let me say, do we really need... Because it's just this one panel.
Yeah.
Do we really need that we are approaching Yavin?
If you had to, like, just take a cleaver to this and start hacking stuff out, no, I don't think so.
Well, especially when especially when you just the one panel, and then we're back to that same 2 panels of radar guy.
Couldn't we just as easily have a wide shot of the fourth moon of Yavin and the Death Star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would also be, I don't know, a visual way to tell a story, which
right.
Who knows? Anyway, let's we get another just spotlight shot of radar guy.
Now it's General Dodonna's time to shine, though.
That's right, everybody. Now the movie's about me.
Beardy McBeardface, as some people called him. Beardy Rebel, as others have called him.
He is one of the beardiest faces in the history of film.
It's like
It's
him
beard for sale.
and right above Gimli, and that's it.
Yes, yeah, those are two of cinema's most bearded faces. And once again, I know we're preparing for battle, but everybody, it's not even that they're dour, they're so just expressionless. They're not even talking. Like they don't even do it where it's like they're just like
One of the things I really like in this scene in the original movie is it does feel like a fighter pilot like ready room, right? Where you've got like the different cliques of fighter pilots kind of sitting together, chatting offhandedly as they're being presented this information. It looks like this ragtag group that's come together.
Sequence, right?
Yeah.
Like it definitely is that vibe.
In this, we're in a college like
All right. Yes, pay attention, everyone.
yeah, exactly.
As Floyd once said.
And so when I think this is maybe supposed to be Wedge speaks up and says, "Pardon me for asking, sir, but what good are snub fighters going to be against that?" Just the most like deadpan face I've seen drawn. He actually does look like a person, and for some reason we have Leia's cocked eyebrow in the foreground.
Like, who's this guy?
Who's this asshole? Wedge Antilles, get the fuck out of here.
He's not a main character. Get out of here. What are you doing? Hey, yes, and then, excuse me, I believe this is a General Dodonna scene.
Shut the fuck up, the beard is talking.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, stepping on my lines, are you, huh? So he's all pissed off. John, he looks a lot like John Huston. He looks like, actually, the guy in the movie looks like John Huston, too. But yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, and then the next page is just all Dodonna. All day, man.
Of the things you could have cut, you would think the long monologue, or I guess it's technically a soliloquy, that Dodonna is delivering here about the defensive capabilities of the Death Star could have been trimmed. But
oh my
no.
God. Thrill as an old man talks and a bunch of people listen. That's what I want in my comic book.
We get Luke kicking it here, saying like, "Oh, of course it's possible. I used to bullseye womp rats with my T-16 back home."
But once again, look at those sad eyes. I used to kill those womp rats. Really,
really watched them die as a child while piloting my T-16. Uncle Owen used to say, "Make sure they're dead. Confirm the kill, Luke. Confirm the kill."
You know how they say that sociopaths start by killing animals. Just pretty worried about my mental state of things. He just killed a whole bunch of guys on the way over here.
I do like how the geography of this room radically changes when we get this reverse shot from behind Dodonna. Because in the previous page, it looks like this vaulted auditorium type thing. You get the reverse shot, and they're actually like wedged in a weird crook of a corridor here.
And there's like stone masonry, like there's a chimney in this place.
Well, they are in like that big ancient pyramid on Yavin.
They are, but the weird, it doesn't look like that little thing looks like somebody's home, the masonry of it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like we're just in the and then it's like, all right, everybody, you get on out there.
May the force be with you and all that.
Yeah, and whatnot and such and such and such. Oh yeah, here's that shot we could have gotten that would have established the Death Star is there.
Yeah, we could have easily lost that insert panel and just have this as the narration, or whoever is talking to Tarkin and says, "Orbiting the planet at maximum velocity, the moon will be within range in 30 minutes." Like, that's what you need for the setup, right?
No, I just love the idea that they felt they're like, no, we need a check-in that they're approaching it, and now 2 pages later, they have arrived.
Meanwhile, we've lost the most important character in this movie, John. Where's Biggs?
Where is Biggs, man? Hashtag Biggs erasure.
This comic book, in its smartest move, does erase the thing that people point to in the movie as like, well, you probably could have lost that in the third act.
I've long said if you cut Biggs out of the beginning, you probably needed to cut him out of the end too, because they kind of only work together, those scenes.
Right, exactly. So having him just show up at the end as he does in the actual movie and being like, "Oh yeah, Biggs, we know him from that scene that doesn't happen."
And then he dies and you're like, oh, that's sad. Luke remembered that guy 10 minutes ago.
So when this comic book loses him entirely, I go, oh, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah,
Oh,
actually.
good job, comic, I guess.
Weird. Yeah, it's like weird moment for me to be like, oh, kind of a good call on that, actually. Weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Han. I've always loved this in the movie. Han's rewards are just in like loose boxes of different shapes and sizes.
I do miss the labels that the 70s comic had
Oh my God.
This is treasure for Han Solo.
Excuse me. Hey, whoa, what does that box say, pal? Han Solo's treasure.
Also,
I
the fact that we never see what treasure it is, like I assume it's money, right? But it's
I always figured
in loose boxes.
Yeah, it's got to be like gold something or
we've
coins
seen
or
physical representations of money in Star Wars, and like
we have,
each different planet has a different currency, but there's also like Republic credits sometimes, or there's an Imperial standard pay as well.
Well, and like when you see on Mandalorian the Beskar, right? That's in like bars, or I love the weird Mon Calamari like jelly currency. Very fun.
In Andor, when they rob that vault, and it's like all of the little Imperial coins.
Yeah, so I figure it's some kind of collection of coins, bars, something like that, right? Like whatever. But it's always just funny to me that it's in just like big crates, and he's like, "There you go, here's my money."
And they're all different too. Like there was no standard money crate. It's just like, well, we got everyone to get their lunch bags together. And
it's like, this is a lot of money we're giving this guy. We don't have enough things. Go ahead and empty that. Are we using that box for anything? Can we put some more in there? It's just there's something funny about that to me. Yeah.
Porkins, give me your tackle box. I need your tackle box.
Come on, boss. I got my hoagie in there. But boy, you talk about not abridging. This whole Han and Luke conversation is here.
Yeah, but we do get a little bit of a better beat in this one, thanks to the fact that in the 70s comic, we kind of have the "May the Force be with you" from Han as an aside that loses all meaning in the relationship building.
Which actually I would expect that of this comic, because it's been doing that the whole time. And then a final Chewie rumph.
A good old-fashioned rumph. You know, like you do.
What are you looking at? Rumph.
And in the movie, it is just like Chewie giving him a shrug, like, you know, you old softy.
I'll tell you what it is, though. No behavior that deserves a medal. That's for fucking sure. All right, so they're readying the X-Wing as we go to the next page here.
Yeah, we get one more kiss from Leia.
Yeah, well, once again, when you stretch out all this stuff that we're talking about, it really loses a lot of the like, guy, there's imminent danger. It seems like they can just take their time getting in these X-Wings. Whatever, man. Like in the movie, there is like, once they get to Yavin, it's like pretty quickly like, here's what we're doing. We're doing this. Everybody get in your fighters. Let's go. Like there's just sort of this, even though technically all this stuff happens, when you start making it page after page you're turning through, it loses a lot of that, like, okay, you know, it doesn't, and comics have that in general, but they really stretch this sequence.
Especially when none of the characters have any emotion on their faces.
Because look at this whole exchange between Luke and Leia. Blank face Luke Skywalker, man.
Leia looks sleepy in the middle panel here. Her eyes are hooded. She's just like, oh, you look going out? Okay. I just took a bunch of Quaaludes, so I'm going to go take a nap.
That actually, unfortunately, was probably what Carrie Fisher was up to. But
she was more of a Coke girl. We all know this.
She was, yep. Hey, man. And she, I mean, we're not saying anything she didn't say herself. So
look.
She was pretty on Front Street about that stuff. But yeah, and he's just going, I only wish Ben were here.
Here's a question for you. Yeah. If Kenobi had survived the Death Star, what would he have done during this conflict?
He would just be basically he would just be with Dodonna, wouldn't he? I mean, you think he would have flown?
No, Obi-Wan famously hates flying.
Correct. I don't think, it's true. I don't think he would have had much to add.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond just like, he would just be...
Moral support, yeah.
Moral support and like, you've been in war before. Is this a good plan? Yes. I don't know.
If we were doing the same plan we had with the last Skywalker I flew with, shit would be exploding already.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry. What he would bring to the party? His famous snark. One of the best things about Obi-Wan is just how snarky he is. No, Obi-Wan dies. I mean, it's sad that he dies, but you're like, no, really, his story has ended. His usefulness to this thing is kind of over.
Right. No, I cannot see Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's what I mean.
Getting
Yeah, it's sort of
into the cockpit of an X-wing.
No. And there's really nothing they need from him on the ground. Actually, the exact same thing would happen. He would tell Luke to trust his feelings. He would just be doing it from the ground on a comm link instead of as a Force ghost. So, I mean, actually, Obi-Wan never seemed that upset about being a Force ghost. I think everything kind of works out for that guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty sweet. Although I sometimes have to sit down. That always gets me. And yeah, hold on. Let me just. Oh, that's the stuff.
We get a whole page of 3PO telling R2 to be careful.
Oh
a whole page.
Well, look at how we're even, because we have so many pages to waste. Look at this whole, look how big these panels are. They're just like, I don't know, man. Now we're just trying to make page count.
Yeah.
The other way, like before we were cropping stuff. Now, well, because look at this takeoff sequence when we go to the next page.
You asked the question of whether or not, like, the guy who was writing the adaptation here, like, was just starting to adapt it and then kind of figured out where Bruce Jones, as the writer here, whether or not he figured out where the act breaks and the issue breaks were after the fact. And it really does feel like the script was probably written before any of these issues came out, obviously. And it really felt like it was up to the artist to figure out the page count after everything was written.
It does feel like that. It's like when you were a kid and you were making like a sign for school and you do the big letters and then you go, oh shit, and you realize it would get smaller as it goes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, that's what this comic feels like to me, where it's like, only it's the opposite, where you start out going like, I gotta cram in as much as and then you're like, oh god, now I got too much space, now I gotta do the big letters at the end here.
Yeah, because this next page is just them pulling out the fueling tanks and a shot of somebody inside of the cockpit.
The cockpit one really makes me laugh, where it's just some guy sitting there.
It might be Luke, who knows?
And I guess it's falling because, once again, we have those curved lines, so I guess it's the cockpit, the canopy coming down.
Yeah.
It's got the lines.
And then
we got the guy with the signals going, all right, bring it out.
We
the
get
guy
one
I
last
would be in
May the
Rebel
Force be with you
Alliance.
from the Ghost with Luke.
Somebody's talking to him.
Who can say?
And then, we're off and going. And once again, third panel in this comic of Radar Guy. He is the star of this issue.
I do love
Bye.
What a shitty post that would be. It's just
worst.
Like, okay, we've got these things that let you be a lookout. Oh, you mean macro binoculars? No. It's like a stick that like goes up into the air and you stand on the top of it. Oh, well, there's like a little canopy for me to hang out in. No. It's really more of like a podium for your legs, and you just kind of got to stand there. Well, how do I go to the bathroom? Oh, look, it's a long way up and there's trees in the way. You'll be fine.
This is a catheter situation, right? He's got a little bag up there. Can somebody give me some food or something? And then it's like, and what do? You just kind of watch the skies, and if any ships come in, you tell us.
Don't we have radar? Well, yeah, we do, but...
Yeah, but we need a guy up there.
Do you,
it's like,
though?
What is he? What readings is he getting? Like, when the Falcon comes in, he's got the thing, he's going, what is that scanning?
He's making sure he's not speeding. It's a 35, John. You got to slow down pretty
Whoa!
quick on the I-4.
Oh, I would love that if it's like they land and they're doing all this stuff, and then this guy just comes up to, hey, Solo, come here. I clocked you doing 45 and a 30. All right, pal, I gotta write you up for that shit.
If this is Coruscant, that'd be a felony. That's a school zone.
All right, so now we're in the control room. Do love a good situation room scene and anything.
Yep.
And they're all around.
That is an insert panel over this massive shot of the gas giant that Yavin orbits with. I think that's supposed to be the Death Star in the bottom left there, but boy, is it not done in any detail.
No, it's really bad. And then we get another special edition shot, which is this remember the big thing with the CGI X-wings flying in formation.
Right. We saw their approach in a little bit more detail as we get some X-wings and some Y-wings, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I do remember that being a thing that impressed me as a kid when I saw it. I was like, oh my god, so many ships.
We get all the Red Squadron checking in,
including... we need all of this.
Including a mustachioed man who's never named.
Red 3.
Has no eyes, even. He is a specter haunting this book.
I'm dead already, Luke.
Biggs is going into this fight as a dead man.
That's right, folks. This isn't Biggs. This is Boston Brand, the dead man himself.
But
who is the...
Who does Porkins get a name? Well, Porkins has a beard in this one. Don't worry about it. That's Red 6.
Yeah, and it's a heavier set guy, but that Porkins, that doesn't look like Porkins.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why does he have this big bushy white beard? Santa joined him.
Santa Claus has joined Red Squadron.
That's right. My X-Wing is pulled by reindeer.
I don't believe in any hokey force, but Christmas spirit will get me through this.
Also, I will say just in general, aside from the mustache and the slightly larger face and beard, all these guys have the same face.
Yeah, there's a bad case of the same face going on here.
It's a bad case of the same face because the last one is Luke Skywalker. And they also make a point of calling out Wedge.
I was going to say, in the middle panel here, when we have Red 2, Wedge Antilles himself calling himself out, and the captioning says, Wedge 2 readies himself for the onslaught, implying you know who Wedge is, even though this comic has literally never said, nor will ever say, his name
and even
before or after this panel.
If you just watch the movie, it's only sort of, in retrospect, having seen all the movies, that we know who Wedge... I mean, Wedge is certainly talked about in the movie, but, like, the importance of Wedge becomes clearer as the franchise goes forward.
I believe in the first movie, the only line that even says his name is somebody says, get out of here, Wedge, after when Luke's about to do his first attempt at the trench
Because
run.
Wedge, and I do think this is interesting, because I feel like this is almost a Dark Horse thing, right? Because Wedge
it absolutely
is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and it has almost nothing to do with the movies themselves.
He is a character that lives and dies on comics and novels in the 90s specifically.
The coolest thing about Wedge in the movies is that he is the one guy who survives all the battles. He's sort of the other guy who you're like, wow, that guy's always there at everything. He's sort of the unsung hero of Star Wars.
In Star Trek, it happens a lot where you'll have some background character be there long enough that eventually somebody will say his name. Chief O'Brien is the biggest example of this I can think of.
Chief
in Star
O'Brien
Trek.
is just crewman he's in the pilot of Next Generation, and he's literally just like guy at console.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he's like security officer, and then eventually becomes O'Brien. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's
Wedge
sort of what
is
Wedge
that to Star Wars.
Yeah. So, all right, we're flying in.
The only man to have killed 2 Death Stars.
True, man. Oh, I do love, and then of course all the comics and books and everything made me love that character. I love Wedge Antilles.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we get all of them checking in. They're flying towards the Death Star, and they're locking S-foils into attack position. We get this big, grand, sweeping shot of all the X-Wings flying in, and this book is just belaboring home the point that we're going there, we're flying there, we're gonna get there. Oh, next page even, we're still flying there.
My God,
okay,
my God. And they get there so fast in the movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they fly it from the planet and it's there, basically. But it is just like, boy, if you're like a space procedure nerd, oh, this is porn, man, because it's all like, you know, passing through magnetic field, lock S-foils, double front, switch deflectors, they open up the wings. Like, you get every sense of how you like operate an X-wing here.
Yeah. As the rebel fighters approach, complex patterns on the Death Star's metallic surface begin to become visible. AKA,
and
they get closer.
And here's the thing. He really hasn't been doing much of these Roy Thomas-esque descriptions. All of a sudden, here they come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Luke adjusts his controls as the ship begins to be buffeted slightly.
Good Lord. And then you get all the, look at the size of that. I mean, I do like the look at the size of that thing, except for who the fuck is that? Just some guy.
I mean, I think in the movie it's Biggs, right?
Is it? I mean, I think it is. Who knows? It's Red too here.
In this, it's Wedge, I guess.
Well, because Wedge is now the most important character in Star Wars.
I mean, yeah. Accelerate to attack speed, and we're flying in. This third issue doesn't need to exist.
Nope. This is it, boys. And the battle is joined. And here we go.
So
this third issue is a total waste of everyone's time.
The issue ends with them sweeping over the defensive batteries of the Death Star, and as battle, like you said, battle is joined. And boy, this is going to be a short episode of this particular show because
there's nothing here.
There's nothing
it's
here.
Insane. I don't know if I've read a comic that has nothing happen in it as much as this one. I've never in my life seen this.
Last episode, we sort of talked about breaking down the act structure of A New Hope. And what this issue proves is that if you don't break it up 3 ways, or break it up 6 ways even.
Right.
And even that felt like a slog.
It did. It felt like a slog, but at least it most of the breaks made some semblance of sense. Because it was like, all right, if you break the 3 acts of the movie up into 2 halves of each act, it kind of works. Right. At least just from a this is an ending, this is an ending, this is an ending. It still was a slog. But here, nothing happens in this issue.
Yeah. So...
And it takes forever. It takes forever for nothing to happen.
The only reason I feel like this was broken into 4 issues was for a 4-part cover mural. That feels like the only motivation I can think of that makes sense.
Yep. You're right. It's all because and that's totally indicative of 90s comics, right? Where it's all about the collecting aspect of it.
But if that's the case, and it is just a really heartless cash grab, which we all kind of recognize that it is, especially in late 90s comics with all the lenticular covers and all the different variant issues and everything that they did to try to tweak the collector market, which inevitably backfired on the industry.
Oh, I mean, we're in fact 97. We're right at the bursting of the bubble of the comics collectors market.
Mm-hmm.
This is ending. This is the sort of where Image has got to start rethinking shit.
But if we accept that as the premise, why even stop at 4? Why not do 6 or 9 issues of this to make it even bigger? And force people to buy more issues.
All in, man. Because there are nerds out there who will just go, it says Star Wars, put it in my box.
Mm-hmm. Or, at this point, we've had some of the stuff released of, the cut scenes, and, we've seen the behind-the-scenes stuff of this original movie. Why not dump all that stuff back into a comic book adaptation like they did back in the 70s?
It's amazing that I'm shocked that they didn't. And actually, they don't even indulge the special edition stuff as much as they could.
Yeah. I mean, they lavishly give us a page and a half of Jabba the Hutt showing back up.
Sure.
And yet we don't spend all that much time on Han running around inside the Death Star and running into that big hangar full of stormtroopers.
Well, it's weird. It's weird when
giving
they
us
gloss
a full
over
double-page
action.
spread of the X-Wings going to the Death Star.
Yeah, it's so interesting when they even gloss over action beats. Because you would think those would be where they'd really... And here they are, but earlier it was like, whatever, get through this. And now it's like, oh no, we're going to approach the Death Star for 5 pages.
I mean, I'm going to bring the comic book back up real quick for our
Yeah.
YouTube viewers. But like, okay, let's do a countdown of how many pages. I'm going to start at the end here. How many pages do we take to get to the Death Star? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh.
7 as we're taking off from Yavin. And that's a third of the book's length.
Oh my god. That's so bad. That's just bad. That's just bad comic book storytelling. I'm sorry. It's like one of those things where it's like, look, man, I don't want to be one of these guys going, yeah, it sucks, but it's just objectively poor storytelling.
Right.
Or it's non-existent. It's not even telling a story. Because the story is some ships flew from this place to that place. They don't do anything. You got to get the next issue to see them do something.
As we keep saying in this coverage, is that this book works so hard to make you do all the work of remembering Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
This book is doing the same work of collectible trading cards that were coming out at the same time.
It might as well be. I remember the scene where Han met Luke in the cantina. What a wild time that was.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a result of the collector's market and the fever around Star Wars merchandise getting back into a level of sales that hadn't been seen since the late 70s.
Correct. Yeah. And this was all part of this, like, Star Wars is coming back, baby.
Because something that we always have to keep in mind as we're covering this book, we love Star Wars comics.
Of course.
It was such a big part of our establishment of knowing this as a franchise.
I mean, as we've talked about, because when we were like kids, like really elementary school kids, there weren't new Star Wars movies, so it was the comics really that carried a lot of that. Was what new Star Wars was to us.
Star Wars and books, yeah.
Yeah, books, comics, that sort of stuff. And so yeah, this stuff is, but boy, this is not we have yet to focus on any of the stuff that was actually like instrumental in that.
We're laying a groundwork though, because something we have to keep in mind while we're doing this show and talking about these things that we do love is that there is a level of crass commercialism that we are participating in by even discussing these comics.
No, there is, and that's always the thing about being a fan. You know, we love so many genre franchise things, and those are the most of the art versus commerce thing, right? It is like, I always think that's so interesting though when people talk about like movies or something. They go, "Oh, they just made a thing to make money." I'm like, every movie is just made to make money. Now, sometimes that's more glaring or damaging than other times, but the only reason you see any movie is because somebody with money said, I bet I could make more money if we made this thing.
Sometimes the people saying the money also use the word toyetic, and that's a whole other conversation.
Well, and that the thing you hope is that the person writing the check is handing it to a creative person who actually cares about the thing and wants to make art. That's the best case scenario.
Right.
And yeah.
The books that we want to talk about on this show, and in the long term we will, we're just setting the table here with a lot of the earlier stuff, including this, is we want to talk about those stories that people took Star Wars as a thing that existed as a pop culture pillar that it was becoming, and said, I think I can tell an interesting story in this space in comic books specifically. And whether that is Archie Goodwin in the late 70s having started something with the adaptations at Marvel and then going, I have other stories to tell in this universe. And whether or not that stumbles or succeeds is another.
Well, but that is
discussion.
the thing is I will say there is so much more charm and personality in even those stupid, Crimson Jack stories. At least that's attempting to be additive, right? Like, even if it's dumb, it's still like, oh, I'm going to try to add to this universe. Because that's the thing I was thinking about when you talk about the novelizations versus this comic book. The novelizations are at least additive. They're trying to add character motivations, internal monologue kind of stuff. That's building on a thing. This is a reduction. It's actually subtracted from the thing. It's making it, and so that's why I get mad.
And that's totally fair. But it's just it's part of this discussion, and I think this is going to serve as yet another interesting goalpost in when we're talking about the larger conversation of Star Wars comics. Is on one end we have people who had no idea what Star Wars was in the original adaptation. Then we have people who are enthusiastic, if not quite grasping what the entirety of Star Wars would become in the later editions.
This doesn't feel very loving in like, my God, I'm getting to tell this. It feels like I just got to do this.
This feels like something that we're probably going to see again before we're done talking about Star Wars comics, and that is, what can we pump out that somebody will buy because it has the Star Wars logo on it?
Yes, indeed, and that's a bummer to read, because it brings your enthusiasm back to, oh, this is a commercial product. I don't want to be thinking that when I'm consuming a Star Wars thing. Even if I know, of course, somebody thinks there's money to be made, I shouldn't be thinking that. Whereas here I'm going like, boy, they just thought we'd buy anything, didn't they?
Somebody designed Grogu to be, these people are going to fucking buy Baby Yoda like nobody's business.
But then other people fill in the actual story of it and go, okay, well, who is this guy? What is the thing with it? You know, there is a harmony between those things. I think people are too cynical about the idea that it can't exist.
Right.
But at its, genre storytelling, its best, finds a way to do that. So.
And look, if there's one thing we're striving to do here on this show, it's find a balance in the force between the light side of creative thinking and the dark side of crass commercialism.
It's true. Well, we'll have to find out how this thrilling story concludes next week.
I wonder how this wraps up.
I don't know, man. They seem like these rebels seem like they're in real trouble. How are they?
They're on the ropes.
Death Star? I don't know, man. This could get rough.
I think that guy in the mustache isn't long for this world. I'll say that.
Yeah, whoever that guy is, I don't know, man. He's trouble. I'm worried about the heavyset one too. I'm not sure he made the physical fitness requirements to be in there, but well, yeah, of course, we want to thank you for listening, and you make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on whatever podcatching software you use, or if you're watching on YouTube. Gergani, what should people talk to us about in the comments below?
In the comments below, if you want to talk to us about, like, where do you think the line is between crass commercialism and artistic endeavor? Let's have a real earnest discussion about the balance between art and money.
We're just going to get comments like, gay!
And look, there's something to be said about introducing people of different gender identities and sexual persuasions as a method of crass commercialism as well.
What Gergoni is proving, no matter what you say, we will spin it into a college-level thesis.
I have an English degree. I can bullshit anything, Sean.
So, and of course, for more exclusive content from this show and all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network, go to our Patreon page, which is patreon.podbean.com/punchup.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. As always, I've been Mike Gergoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And may the panel be with you.